What's good, football gamers? It's your boy Fan checking in with another College Football 25 YouTube video, and in this one I've come to do two things: make a confession and then show you something awesome in that order. To start, while it wasn't on purpose as I was given the best information I had at the time, the video that we did on the best coach in the game, how to say this, turns out to not actually be the best coach in the game. The one I'm about to show you is significantly better. In case you haven't seen that one, the end result is we're basically able to outperform our intended skill point total of 495 over 50 levels by about 15 to 20%, which was a big W, and I hadn't seen anybody putting that together before. The coach I'm about to show you is already at a 30% overperformance, and we still have 193 skill points to spend. For both of these guys, we took the Georgia OC coach boosting route, only bought abilities that were both valuable to us and discounted, and took it from there. The key difference between the two is while in the first example, we just used the Georgia head coach's bundle discount, in this one, we also bought our own and committed to never buying a skill unless it was double discounted. As you probably know, with a bundle discount skill, if both other coaches on the staff have that same skill, it's not just discounted by one skill point, it's discounted by both. Now, honestly, this sent us down a pretty dark rabbit hole of hiring coordinators, boosting them all throughout the year, gaining the discounts from their skills, and then firing them to do the exact same to another bunch of guys. If we did this enough times and were able to match up both coordinators enough, we could theoretically buy every skill that we wanted to, discounted by 2 skill points. This might wind up being the type of thing you like watching somebody else do rather than doing yourself, because this was a long, winding road to get here and a lot of wasted time just simming. But we are truly at the precipice of the perfect coach that you could possibly put together with the parameters in the game right now, and I'm gonna handle this video a little bit differently than I normally do. Usually I already know the answer, and I'm more presenting the information in kind of a completed way, but for this one, at the doorstep of greatness, we're gonna treat it more like a live show to see whether or not we can finish this job. The last couple coordinators that we would need to match to put together the perfect coach are elite recruiters and architects, and they are almost impossible to find. So that's how we got here. That's where we're at, and I hope you enjoy the conclusion of the perfect coach in College Football 25. Check. Okay, all right, already. I'm checking in with the congregation to the true best coach in College Football 25. Here goes Coach Congregation. You see top right, we have 193 skill points yet to spend. We have purchased absolutely nothing that wasn't double discounted, with a few notable exceptions. Two of the main objectives of the Georgia OC boosting route were to wind up with 2 national championships to fulfill that part of the CEO requirement, and also land 2 top recruiting classes to fulfill the elite recruiter requirement branch that could open that up for us. Another part of the CEO branch was that we needed to spend 100 points just in general. We did not spend any points that weren't discounted by at least 1, but importantly, we did leave Georgia at the 100 points spent that we needed, so that whenever we landed at our head coach spot, which in this case was Texas, because we are chasing that 99 overall team, we would need the 100 points spent already to be able to buy our own bundle discount. So those were the only exceptions on skills that we didn't have double discount, and we bought a few at 4 points. So once we landed at Texas, we bought the CEO branch, we bought our own bundle discount in here, which will give us coach abilities at a discount when another coach has the same one, and then essentially cycled through coordinators, like I said in the intro, for a few years, matching up to make sure both of those coordinators had a given skill that we wanted, and we would only purchase it when they both did, and thus was discounted by 2. You can see here in Recruiter our true commitment to that cause, as we still do have 1 rung left in the O-line recruiter skill tree, but we only have it discounted by 1 so far, so I haven't purchased it yet. So as you can see here, we filled out the entire base recruiter tree, except that 1 O-line ability that's still left over for us, and we left out kickers and punters. I know they're real people too, but I'm just not using skill points on them. We've also been able to max out the base tactician tree, with another exception at cross training, as I just don't see a whole heck of a lot of value there, but we got all of the good ones double discounted in tactician too. I've been on record a bunch saying how I really dislike motivator, because you need to spend on tier 1 and 2 before you really get any value at all at tier 3, where you'll get an off-season training boost. But since we were able to get all of these for just 3 skill points, and I have the objective of adding the architect architect skill tree as well to kind of combo these two together. We spent on the double discounted in Motivator 2 and got all of the relevant spots to that tier 3 where everyone is getting an offseason training boost, except for our kickers and punters. Now, I'll spare you the math. You could do it yourself if you wanted to, but just take my word for it. We could not, as things stand right now, if they're not discounted, we could not afford the first rung in Elite Recruiter, which will give us additional interest for every 10 hours spent, and also both unlocking Architect and getting them to tier 2, which is a chance to increase a random skill cap when leveling up. So we need 2 of the rarest archetypes for coordinators in the game if we want to wind up finishing this job with Elite Recruiters or architects. If we're able to get all the discounts the way we want to, we'll also be able to afford the CEO skill Delay Sunday, in which first round projected players are less likely to leave for the NFL. In my mind, the biggest obstacle to creating a 99 overall roster is your guys that go early in the draft. The problem here becomes, of course, how many elite recruiters or architects are in the game, A, are getting fired, B, and C, will pop up in your available staff to hire. To find out where the elite recruiters and architects were, I had to do the truly unthinkable, and I have the results already, but I'm just going to show you the process that I had to go through to find these guys. Dynasty settings, member, add a new character, and you'll be able to select a team. We'll start with Penn State. When you pick the head coach, scroll over, it'll tell you their archetype. Scroll back, OC, scroll back again, DC, and when you didn't find an elite recruiter or an architect, which is pretty much all the time, you would exit back out of that menu, and conveniently the game would dump you right back off at your favorite team. So you had to filter and do the whole thing all over again. Searching for these archetypes was miserable, which is why I say this might be the type of thing you enjoy watching more than you enjoy doing yourself, because this part was truly heinous. But now I'm in my media gallery of snapshots that I took of elite recruiters. So I know the DC at Virginia Tech is one. I know there's an elite recruiter head coach at South Carolina, one available at Washington. Here goes an architect also at Washington, elite recruiter from Tennessee, elite recruiter from TCU, and an architect at Florida. And I do believe that's all of them. And another architect at Stanford. There you have it. I didn't search through every single team. I stopped probably midway through tier 3 teams with the assumption that like 1 and 2 aren't going to have those elite branches. But what we do from here is really going to be the foulest business, because we need these guys to land in the coaching carousel. So I admittedly did this a little bit early, as this is the very end of this season, and some of those guys are liable to move jobs once this season is done. But we're going to go through one round of kind of coaching hiring. We're going to fire the coordinators that we have right now. We've already gotten the max benefit from their skills. See if we get super lucky and have any of these guys pop up in the coaching carousel, but they probably won't. Assuming that they don't, when we get to next season, we are going to force loss the entire schedule of all the teams that have the coordinators or coaches that we want to land, to try to force them into the coaching carousel so that we can pick them up. I know it's foul, nasty business, but just bear with me. So for right now, we're going to fire both of our guys. We've already gotten the max benefit out of them, and although they are great coordinators, if we're going to be going through and playing the games for what we're trying to do to get our coach to the perfect level, we have to fire them. So we're going to fire them, and we're going to fire both. If you do this in week 15 or 16, which will be conference championships, your first opportunity to hire coaches will be in bowl week 1. So it doesn't really matter if we win or lose this game. We're just going to sim forward, see what happens, and try to get to our first round of hiring coaches. So it looks like our Longhorns won the SEC championship. Congratulations to those guys. And now we're in bowl week 1 of 4. If you have not fired your guys by now, you can do so here, but if you've already fired your coordinators, you can indeed start shopping them in bowl week 1. So we'll scroll down to manage staff, click into here, and we're able to look at the available pool of coordinators for both our offense and our defense. What I've learned at great effort and labor is the best coaches will pop up in bowl week 3. If you've not hired anybody, by bowl week 3 and you advance to bowl week 4, they will auto hire coaches for you. So you want to make your call at bowl week 3. That's generally where old head coaches or high-level guys will be available. And although it's not 100%, it's our best odds. So we're going to go ahead and push right on to week 3 to see if we can outperform what looked to be the high score of about level 25 for any of the available candidates that we had here. So let's go on to bowl week 3 and see what our options look like there. Okay, the Sim Longhorn staying alive. Here we go in bowl week 3 of 4, which is our last opportunity to hire staff. So we'll scroll into here and hopefully there will be some better candidates than we saw in weeks 1 and 2. We'll scroll across and you love it when a plan comes together. You can see here that we have a level 45, a level 50, 36, and a 26 coach here available for our OC spot. And defensive coordinators, similarly a little bit better. We have a 37, we have a 50, and we have a 44. So obviously we're going to want to check in here to see if any of these guys are the archetypes that we're looking for. Jeremiah Beaver is a tactician. It can't help us for now. Level 50 Mike Royal also can't help. It needs to be only elite recruiter or architect at this point. And we go 0 for 3. Got a master motivator in there. We'll check to see the OCs to see if any of those guys have what we're looking for. Elite strategist, pretty cool, but it's not what we're after. This guy has elite recruiter stuff a little bit, so this might be worth hiring here, but we can't get anybody to match him right now. Jack Moon also has elite recruiter skills, and Tuggle does not. So in this situation where we're looking to match recruiters, we know we can't get both on elite recruiter. Let me make sure that no DCs had even elite recruiter skills at all. That's a no, but he does. So hold on a second. We might actually have some life here on elite recruiter. Unfortunately, we can't see the specific skills that they have, but you can tell because with that little bracket that's around the recruiter skill tree that he does have elite recruiter skills in there, and we don't need much help. We only want to get the 1 level in elite recruiter, and we feel like that's good for our perfect coach. So we have a defensive coordinator, Mike Royal, with the elite recruiter skills at level 50. So that's looking like our call there. And then offensively, it's going to be Todd Clark, the other level 50. Yes, because he's the only one with the elite recruiter stuff. No architect anywhere, right? No. All right. So we're going to offer the 2 elite recruiter skill coaches, Todd Clark and also Mike Royal. Offer both of those guys. We had to wait till bowl week 3 to get the best options for ourselves. Now, I'm going to sim on to the beginning of next season to see whether or not these guys are going to give us the discounts that we're looking for in Elite Recruiter, and then we're going to try to see whether or not we could force those architects into the coaching pool or not. Hang tight. And hold on a second real quick before we get to the beginning of next season. It looks like we probably found a slightly better way to look for the guys that you want to see. I scrolled in here to staff moves, and rather than going to the manage and then users and having to like look that way, you could tell if anyone with the archetype that you want got hired. So I made a note here on Roger Jolly, who got hired at UAB. The new Clemson head coach is an architect, and the new Duke head coach is also an architect. So I wrote that down, and I'm going to keep that in mind for later, but here we go to week 1. All right, and here we are in the preseason of the next year. We look, our coordinators did indeed get hired successfully. We got Todd Clark showing for elite recruiter skills, as does Mike Royal. So we could click in here now and see what they have. Mike Royal has at least one of all of these, which we need. We only need the first level, and Todd Clark also has most of what we want, except it looks like we're going to be missing one there. But it's just about what we were looking for, and I think it's good enough for our purposes to finish the perfect coach. So we'll scroll over here to Coach Congregation, tap in here, and just to confirm, we will be able to get Tier 1 at 6, double discounted again. Good, and we'll save 1 on the D-back, but all things considered, the fact that we were able to land 2 elite recruiters at the same time is excellent. So I'm going to go ahead and unlock elite recruiter at this point. Tap in here, buy Tier 1 of the double discounts. 6 is good, all the way across. Okay, also good, and We're taking the 1 discount here. I think it's about as good as it'll get. You know what? Matter of fact, these guys are high levels, so they're probably not going to gain all too many more skill points, but we'll hold off on this for right now. We'll check the skill tree again right before we fire these guys in week 15, just to see if we wind up springing the double discount here at any point. But that was our objective. So you do have to do that for every skill tree. Match up your coordinators, understand that they will grow throughout the year. So just before you let them go at the very end of your season, make sure you're looking in the skill tree to see if they got any better and you picked up any other discounts. So that's what we're going to do for this last one, but we know we're getting no help from Architect, and here comes the real nasty business. All right, so just to confirm everyone is where we think they are, I'm going to do this real quick, and I'm probably just going to cut to the end. But from my notes and the screenshots I took from the end of last season, it seems like the Clemson HC will have Architect, so will the Duke head coach, so will the UAB head coach, so will the Washington head coach, and so will the Stanford head coach. So let's just check Stanford here to see if bro is still around, and he is not. That's why we checked. Spectacular. How about the Washington guy? That was also left over from the end of last season. We got the head coach showing for potential Architect. He's still there, so that's good to go. Stanford is a no. Washington head coach is a yes. I'm going to check the other two, Clemson and Duke. Give me 1 second. Duke guy still there as an Architect, W. Clemson guy also still there as an Architect, which we love. And UAB is there too. That just so happens to be the Florida head coach that got hired at UAB that I had a screenshot of. So without looking any further, and I'm hoping we don't need to, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 Architects that I've identified that are out there, and I'm going to get them all fired. I'll spare you the nitty-gritty and I'll just do it myself, but as you probably know, if you scroll over to CFB and tap into team schedule, you can bounce around in here and essentially give anybody that you want to as many wins or losses as you see fit. So when I go to UAB and then Washington and then Duke and then Clemson, none of these guys are going to win a game this year. I'm going to try to get those Architects up out of there and into the carousel for me to pick up. I'm going to force loss all of these teams' schedules. 1 moment, please. That is some nasty work, but we're done. None of those coaches are winning a game this year unless they're playing each other, I fear. So we have the Architects set up as best we can to hit that coaching portal, and this is where it gets a little bit freak nasty. We are just going to sim until week 15. We'll check on that last elite recruiter skill to see whether we're able to get that at a double discount, fire our guys, and then really just keep our fingers crossed that these Architects hit the portal so we could get 2 of them. We'll see what happens on to week 15. All right, so the sim to Longhorns did not do so hot this year, but that's okay. We didn't get fired. We turned that off. So we could scroll in now to upgrade our coach skills. The other guys are maxed out at 50 now. I took a look to see. And let's check whether or not they wound up getting us that 6. They did not. What about this last O-line one we need? Also no. Okay, so we could cop that at a 1 discount, and we could cop that at a 1 discount. That would cost us 11 total. We have to fire these guys. We know that, and they're not going to pick up any extra help. So before I make any other decisions here, in case I want to come back to this point, I'm going to create a save point because I may well want to re-roll the coaching offers that we wind up getting. So I'm going to save something that I could come back to right here. Now, the math I did, if we got everything double discounted, had us with a balance of some points that we just weren't going to be able to spend. So for the purposes here, I am going to take the single discounted to finish these. So I'm going to take the single discount to finish the O-line bit, and I'm going to take the single discount to get to tier 1 in the elite branch for defensive backs as well. We're going to go ahead and fire our guys. They did a great job for us. I don't know, 4 and 8's kind of crazy. We're going to fire our guys and get on to the next round of coaching pools to see if any of those Architects pop up, and really this is just a fingers crossed type of situation. We've done all we can to influence them hitting the carousel. All right, in bowl week 1 is our first opportunity, so we're going to check the pool. Let's tap in here. No life, none of the big dogs. We're not expecting to see them until week 3, but it's obviously to our advantage to just check. And no Architects. Those are going to need to be big level guys, so let's go on to week 2. In bowl week 2, are any of our guys popping up? No, and also no, but it looks like Duke fired some of their guys. We're hoping the head coach is going to be in there in week 3. So here goes our last chance for this year to wind up with these architects. Let's get on to Bowl Week 3. Moment of truth. And now in Bowl Week 3, tap in for our last chance. We got UConn at level 50, but no architect help. And we did not land an architect in the OC. What about the DC spot? No. No. And also no. No architects to show for in this round. We missed. All right. Whoa! I am going to do one more round of this. I'm going to look for architects. I'm going to lose them throughout the season. We're going to get to the end of things. Let me catch up with you at the end of the next one. And this is why I said this might be the type of thing you enjoy watching more than you like doing yourself, because this next part's going to suck. You're not going to see it, but I'm going to do the same process. I'm going to look for architects where they're at, try to get them fired, and then try to get them on staff with me if I can. I just don't know how realistic this part is going to be. Just in case we can't do it, let me see if we have enough points to finish what I think would be the perfect build, and I could explain to you why. Recruiter is done. It has everything we want in it. Motivator also done, has everything that we want. So does Tactician. To open up Architect, it would cost us 15. And the correct spot to stop in Architect for this 99 chase to create this perfect coach would be tier 2. So it's going to cost us 16 per position or 32 per column. So this is 32, 64, 96, plus 16 for 112. 15 to open it brings us to 127. So we could do that and have 4 skill points left. But if we're able to get those discounted, we wouldn't even need all of them double discounted. Even if we were able to get a few, I really would love part of this coach's build to be delay Sunday. So we know we have that save point. I'm going to reload that just one time to check again to see if any of the architects pop up. I'm not sure that they will. I would love for this to be a part of this build, but we do know already that we could finish architect, and honestly, that might be sufficient for what we want to do. I don't know how much this is going to help, but let me reload. I'm going to check this round of coaches again. If I have to, I'll do another season and then tap back in with you guys. I'll see you in a second. All right, I reloaded back to Bowl Week 3 again, and it's the exact same pool of guys. So we're going to need to go ahead and do this for another season, which I was afraid of. I'm going to spare you guys the nitty-gritty details. Same thing. I'm going to get to the preseason. I'm going to force loss architects that I see, try to get them fired, and then see if we could pick them up in Bowl Week for next year. Here we go. Yeah, and this is actually so much better than going to the members page and adding a coach. I can't believe I didn't see this earlier, but I'm just scrolling through staff moves to see who got hired. And although it'll be their first role at the new place, I feel like we still have an opportunity to get them to move. So I'm just scrolling through and making a note of all the architects and gonna try to get them fired. All right, now week 0 of 32, our new targets: the Pitt head coach, the Duke head coach, the Vanderbilt head coach, and the Troy head coach all have architect. Them boys are gonna get fired. We're gonna fire our guys and see if we could roll them. Here we go. And last force loss. There we go. Okay, all those guys queued up to lose all their games. We're gonna win all of our games. We're gonna get on to week 15 again and see whether we could land any of these architects. And I was doing some math as I was waiting for the sim to finish. Even if we're able to land one and buy all the architect skills, even just discounted by 1, we'll be able to still get that delay Sunday CEO skill. And like I said before, we wound up with extra points that I just wasn't really going to be able to spend on the double discount, like truly perfect to the letter coach. So we could get away with landing just one architect, but let's see if we get any of them. On to week 15, we'll get to the coaching carousel and we'll see what happens. Okay, we've made it all the way back to Bowl Week 3, where we're going to get our best coaching pool of now 2032. We'll tap into managed staff here, and like we said, we might only need one architect to be able to get that single discounted and then buy delay Sunday. So let's check in with the OCs. Duke head coach has architect. We got one. We got one. Okay, so Duke head coach is available there. Defensively, that's the Troy guy, but it's not the right one. And level 50 UCF, also no architect there. All right, we got 1 out of 2. There's 2 ways that we could play this from here. We're gonna hire the 1 architect, no question. You could, if you wanted to, and I don't think it's absolutely necessary, but if we're talking perfect coach, you could hire the 1 architect that we have available, try to keep him on the staff, hopefully he doesn't get hired out anywhere else, and just wait an extra year, don't fire him, fire the other guy to see if you could match the 2nd archetype later. I don't know if it's specifically what I need to do here as to finish the perfect coach build to hunt a 99 overall team. I think this will be sufficient. So we're gonna hire the architect, no question. You could take this a step further, like we said, by just, hunting, but it's gonna take you entire seasons at a time. So we'll have the 1 architect in-house. We'll hire one of these other level 50 guys just because. Okay, and now, same thing, we're going to sim to the beginning of the next season and see if this maths out such that we can afford Delay Sunday and get the architect tree to level 2 at all of the relevant positions and have enough skill points to do all of that. Let's see how this winds up looking. And here we arrive back into preseason. We'll go to upgrade our coach skills, and let's do the relevant math here first. To open up architect would take us 15 points. We'll keep that in the back of our mind. And we have the single discounts to level 2. So this is going to be 14 to 28. Are all of them at least single discounted to 2? They are. Spectacular. So this is going to be 14 per position group and 28 per column. So that's 28, 56, 84, 91, 98. Plus the 15 to unlock it is 113. 113 plus the 18 for Delay Sunday is 131 skill points. Hear me out. Did I do the math correctly? Let's find out on the fly. 15 to unlock it. Tap back in. Here goes 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And last, discounts in there. We hop out. We have exactly 18 left. And I've thought a lot about this. The play here is Delay Sunday to keep some more of your first rounders in-house. Those are going to be the guys that if you want to make a push at a truly max overall team, I think you're going to need this. So I'm going to cop Delay Sunday, which gets us to 0 skill points. We've spent every single one. None of them are left on the board. And for my money, I think this is the single perfect coach, and I'm gonna explain why. The closer I've gotten to the end game with a lot of these files, the more I notice that it's about keeping players in-house and obviously developing the guys that you have, but it comes down to whether or not you can land the best recruits in the first place. I've been on record a bunch of times saying that in Program Builder, by the end of the thing, you could have your best 5 pipelines upgraded by a tier and your worst 5 pipelines upgraded by a tier. My goal in maxing out Recruiter and getting these first branches of the Elite Recruiter skill is honestly to bypass pipeline considerations completely. I think that if you wanted to ever wind up with a 99 overall Dynasty roster, you would have to land for about 4 to 5 years in a row the best player at every single position, like I said, for a few years straight. And the only way to do that is to make sure you're just so overpowered in recruiting that their pipeline's not going to matter. The pipeline is a random. We can't really have that. We need to be able to land them anyway, and I think that this can help you do that. By the same token, I've been on record saying how much I hate Motivator, mostly because you need to pay a tax on the first 2 tiers, which are almost no value in bonuses when you're getting drafted in the top 3 rounds at position and then staying hot. Who cares? But there's obviously very good value at tier 3 where you're getting an off-season training boost for all these different position groups. And if you're going to get these discounted like we did, it opens up the opportunity to tap into Architect. Motivator is just the ticket to Architect, as far as I'm concerned. So you really need to be asking whether or not Architect is worth it to find out whether you want to be spending any points in Motivator at all. If you're not going to do this big, long boosting plan that we did here with all these resims and matching coordinators and bundle discount stuff, if you're just kind of playing the game, really, I still don't think Motivator is any good, and I don't think it's worth it to unlock Architect unless you're getting the discounts. But then in Architect, has a chance to increase a random skill cap when we level up every player. Tactician is my 1A and 1B with Recruiter, and I'm not even necessarily sure which one would go first. You're gonna see massive overall upgrades if you have this tree maxed out, and I think a part of the recipe for a 99 overall roster will also be to, when you're ready to finally make your reach, to have 2 more Tactician coordinators that are just maxing out the overall boosts you're getting on all of your players. In a similar vein, under the CEO branch, you might consider Senior Superlatives, which increase skill group caps by 1 for rising seniors. But the problem was hardly any of your best guys in the end game wind up getting to their senior year. They're often declaring for the draft if you redshirted them, sometimes as sophomores, if not, definitely as juniors. And I just hardly ever saw any elite rising seniors actually stay on my roster, so I feel like for the 99 overall chase, this wasn't going to be as useful as something that might keep some of my first rounders in-house, which are obviously going to be just the best players that are ever on your team. So that's all part of what I was considering when thinking of the true perfect coach. Now let's see how much we left on the table. Y'all saw that we took a single discount and not a double discount on at least the O-line, and then we had to eat one on all of these elite recruiter skills here as well. So to consider what we left on the table, we know we bought that for a single discount, so that's 1 point we left, and we also know we bought the secondary D-back one at a single discount, so that's 2 points theoretically that we left on the table. Same way in Architect, I guess if you wanted to get the second one, you could. So we left 2 points on the table and then 2 points per position group here. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 points were left on the table, kind of, which is not obviously enough to afford anything else in CEO. If you got those 16 points, I just think you would kind of be spending them just to spend them in a random bucket, because I don't think anything else is going to really add significant value to this perfect coach that, if it's even possible, and I don't know if it is, but we'll be able to find out probably in the next video, whether or not with a coach like this, you could chase a 99 overall dynasty roster. So we left some on the table, but not enough to make a difference. Let's see where we've wound up now that all our skill points are out, where we wound up versus where we should have been if we didn't get anything discounted. So we're going to count up all of the skills that we have and what they should have cost and compare that against the 495 skill points that you have to spend over your 50 levels of coaching. So in Recruiter, if all things were even and we didn't get any discounts, these are supposed to cost 5 apiece. So this will be 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140. These are all supposed to cost 8 apiece. So we have 148, 156, 164, 172, 180, 188, 196 in the Recruiter branch that we were supposed to have spent. I'm going to write that down. 196. In Tactician, same way, these were supposed to cost us 5 apiece. So we have 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, plus the 10 skill points it cost us to open up the Tactician branch, which brings us to 150 that we spent here total in Tactician. Keeping it moving right along, we'll hit Motivator, same thing for 5. We bought 3 of them. So this is now 15, 30, 45, 60, 75, 90, 105, plus the 10 it costs to open up this tree for 115 of value in Motivator. And hold up, we also needed to unlock Elite Recruiter for 15, so I'm going to add that up there. So the Recruiter total is actually 211 and not 196, so 211 from Recruiter. Same way in Architect, these are supposed to cost 8 apiece, so this is 16 per position group. So 16, 32, 48, 64, 80, 96, 112 from Architect, plus the 10 to unlock it is 122 of value from Architect. Plus here goes the CEO branch, which we spent 36 in between the 2 abilities, plus the 30 points that it took us to unlock the thing in the first place, bringing us to 66 points that we spent in CEO. So all together, this is 211 Recruiter, plus 150 Tactician, plus 115 motivator, plus 122 architect, plus a 66 in CEO, all equals 664 skill points out of the 495 that we were supposed to be able to spend. So the 664 of our value divided by or out of the 495 that we should have spent gets us 1.34, which means we have overperformed expectations by a third, by 34%. Crazy. Basically doubled up our last best coach's advantages. So if we want to be specific in our language, the true perfect coach would still have 16 points to spend here, but the question becomes at what cost? Burning more seasons to try to match the architect, you certainly could, but if you know that there's only 16 points, which isn't good enough for a CEO skill, and you would kind of just be looking for places to spend that, you could take advantage of some more double discounts and say push Elite Recruiter even one step further if you want. I just think it winds up being a little bit overkill, so I am comfortable calling this the singular best coach in the game. The cost and time it took to get us here will give me pause as to whether or not this was worth it, but as far as an experiment to see what we could do, this was pretty awesome. So there you have it, chat. We had to get a whole bunch of people fired in order to do this and just use them for their skill trees, but with a good chunk of our dynasty career left against that cap of 30 years, now we have a guy that could potentially chase a 99 overall dynasty roster, and that's going to be our next project. For now, the perfect coach in College Football 25 is signing out. I've been Fen. Y'all been great. See you next video. Peace.